Have you ever wondered what happens inside you when you decide to walk away from someone? I'm not just talking about the physical moment of creating distance, but that profound act of freeing yourself from what no longer resonates with you, from what has been holding you back in some way. Carl Jung, a visionary of the human mind, left us teachings that illuminate this process and transform it into something greater, something deeply meaningful. Walking away isn't simply saying goodbye, it's much more than that. It's an act of courage, a declaration to the universe that you're ready to prioritize your peace, your authenticity, and your true self. But that step doesn't come without challenges. Deep within you, in the depths of your unconscious, a transformation begins to take shape. It's as if something inside you awakens and tells you, it's time. And though that decision may feel liberating, it also brings doubts, fears, and sometimes a momentary loneliness that seems hard to bear. Carl Jung taught us that these emotions aren't mere coincidences. They're the reflection of a much larger process, a dialogue between what you believe yourself to be and what you truly are. When you decide to walk away, you're breaking a pattern, a connection that may have been feeding aspects of yourself you'd rather not confront. But here lies the true power of this decision. When you choose to step away from what drains you, you're not just gaining space, you're creating the conditions for something much better to flourish in your life. Have you noticed how, after walking away from certain people, you begin to feel a peace you didn't know you needed? It's as if by releasing that relationship, you also release a burden you were carrying without realizing it. But what you may not know is that this act also deeply impacts those left behind. Your departure, though it may seem simple, can be an earthquake in their inner world. Carl Jung would call this a moment of confrontation, a mirror reflecting truths we often prefer to ignore. That's the magic and the challenge of these kinds of decisions. When you walk away, you're not just choosing for yourself, you're leaving a mark on others, a call, conscious or not, for them to also look inward. And here's the secret. Not everyone will be ready to face it. Some will try to hold on to you, manipulate you, make you feel guilty. But remember, that speaks not of you, but of their own shadows, their own fears of losing control or facing what your departure represents. The hardest part of walking away isn't the distance itself, but the void it leaves. That space once filled with conversations, shared energy, and habits that, even if toxic, felt familiar. Jung would say that the void isn't something to fear. On the contrary, it's a sacred space, a blank canvas where you can rebuild, rediscover, and most importantly, reconnect with your most authentic essence. The real challenge lies in resisting the temptation to fill that void immediately. Let's be honest. It's easier to seek a new relationship, a new circle, or even any distraction than to face yourself. But this is where the transformation lies. Jung taught us that by facing that void, we discover who we truly are. It's an uncomfortable process, yes, but also deeply liberating. When you decide to take that step and walk away, you're not just marking a physical distance. What's really happening is that you're drawing a line between what you deserve and what you've allowed until now. It's a revolutionary act for your soul, a clear message to your unconscious that says, my needs matter, my peace matters, my truth matters. But this message isn't just heard by you, it's also felt by others, especially those you walk away from. They won't always understand it. In fact, their reaction will often be to cling to you, not because they need you, but because your departure forces them to confront something they'd rather not see. Carl Jung called this projection. Everything we don't want to accept about ourselves, we project onto others. So when you choose to let go, your decision becomes a mirror. It reflects their own insecurities, fears, and voids. It's not you who hurts them, it's their own internal struggle that becomes more evident in your absence. This is where the inner work becomes crucial. While they deal with their projections, you also face your own. It's easy to fall into guilt, into the fear of having made the wrong decision. But Jung would remind us that this is a moment for introspection, for observing your own patterns and discovering what parts of yourself have been silenced, repressed, or even sacrificed in those relationships. Often what we fear most isn't walking away, but what we discover about ourselves when we do. Because the truth is this, we don't always choose to surround ourselves with the best people for our well-being. Sometimes, we attract what we believe we deserve in that moment, what resonates with our deepest wounds. And when you decide to walk away, you're breaking not just a bond with someone else, but also with those wounds that have defined your choices until now. Have you ever felt that mix of relief and uncertainty after letting go of a relationship? That's your psyche adapting, reorganizing, finding a new balance. According to Jung, this process is like a symbolic death. You let a part of yourself die, a part trapped in old patterns, to make way for a rebirth. And though it's painful, it's also deeply transformative. In the void left behind, you begin to notice something magical: new ideas, new interests, and most importantly, new people start entering your life. People who don't demand that you change, who don't try to mold you, but who accept you as you are. These connections that seem to come out of nowhere aren't coincidences. Jung would call them synchronicities, signs that you're aligned with your essence, that you're on the right path. But here's the key. For these synchronicities to happen, you need to be willing to let go completely, not just physically, but emotionally and energetically. Stop looking back, stop trying to justify your decision or seeking external validation. Because the truth is, you don't need others to understand your decision. It's enough that you understand it, that you recognize you're choosing your well-being over any external expectation. As you move forward, something profound begins to change within you. That inner voice that once whispered now starts to speak more clearly. You become more aware of your boundaries, of what you truly value, and of what you're no longer willing to compromise on. This doesn't mean you become insensitive or selfish. It means you start prioritizing from a place of self-love, from a place where you understand that taking care of yourself isn't just necessary, but essential. The impact of this transformation isn't limited to you. The people who remain in your life also feel it. Your authenticity, your clarity, and your renewed energy inspire those who are ready to grow with you, and those who aren't will simply step aside, not because you reject them, but because they no longer resonate with the person you're becoming. When you start living from this place of authenticity, something amazing happens. Your energy changes, and with it, everything around you. Jung spoke of the power of aligning with your true self, of connecting with what he called the self, that deeper, more authentic part that lives within all of us. When you choose to prioritize yourself, you're sending a clear signal to the universe. I'm ready to receive what I truly deserve. That alignment doesn't just attract the right people. It also filters out everything that isn't in harmony with you. It's as if life itself begins to work in your favor. The relationships that once seemed impossible to leave behind start to fade, not with conflict, but with a peace that once seemed unattainable. It's in that moment that you realize the greatest gift you can give yourself is the permission to be who you truly are. But how do you know if you're living from your authenticity? Jung would tell us that an authentic life isn't measured by how many people accept or approve of you, but by how you feel about yourself at the end of the day. If you're surrounded by people who constantly make you feel like you need to change, like you're not enough, or like you have to hide parts of yourself to fit in, that's a clear sign something isn't aligned. The real challenge is learning to let go with love, not with resentment. Because letting go doesn't mean rejecting or despising others. It means being grateful for what was, acknowledging what you learned, and understanding that sometimes the greatest act of love you can offer is to release others from your expectations and to release yourself from the weight of relationships that no longer nourish you. In this process, it's normal for doubts to arise, We've been taught that walking away can be selfish or insensitive, but Jung had a different perspective. For him, taking care of your soul, your psyche, isn't just a right, it's a responsibility. If you're not well within yourself, how can you expect to give your best to others? If your energy is drained, if your light is dimmed from trying to sustain relationships that don't nourish you, then you're not living, you're just surviving. There's incredible power in recognizing your own limits. Jung described it as an act of integration. It's not about building walls, but about establishing bridges where there was once chaos. It's about understanding that saying no isn't an act of rejection, but of affirmation. You affirm who you are, what you value, and what you need to flourish. And when you do this, something beautiful happens. The people who truly matter, those destined to walk with you, understand. They don't try to change you or hold you back. They support you, celebrate you, and grow with you. Of course, not everyone will be ready to accept your transformation. There will be those who question your decisions, who try to make you doubt yourself. But this is where your true strength lies, in not allowing external opinions to dictate your path. Jung taught us that the only approval that truly matters is the one that comes from your own heart. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who lives with the consequences of your choices, not others. As you continue to move forward, you'll start to notice that life feels lighter. You no longer feel the need to explain your decisions or justify your choices. You simply live, trusting that the path you're building is the right one for you. This level of trust doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of deep inner work, of facing your shadows, listening to your intuition, and consciously choosing what elevates your soul. The true gift of this process isn't just the peace you find, but also the freedom. A freedom that goes beyond external circumstances. It's the freedom to be yourself, to live without fear, to embrace every part of yourself, even the ones you once considered imperfect or inadequate. Because when you integrate all parts of your being, you realize you don't need to be perfect to be whole. You're already enough, just as you are. This transformation doesn't just change how you see yourself, it also changes how you relate to the world. When you choose to let go of what doesn't resonate with you, you're opening space for new things to come in, healthier relationships, unexpected opportunities, and, above all, a deeper sense of purpose. Carl Jung would say that you're allowing the unconscious to work in your favor, synchronizing your life with possibilities that were always there but that you couldn't see because you were trapped in dynamics that didn't let you move forward. Have you noticed how, when you let go of something that seemed essential, things start to fall into place in ways you never imagined? It's as if the universe responds to your decision to release by sending you signs, people, and experiences that validate your new path. This isn't a coincidence. Jung called it synchronicity, that mysterious connection between external events and your inner world. It's proof that when you align with your essence, everything around you also begins to align. However, this doesn't mean the path will always be easy. There will be days when you feel nostalgia, doubt, and even fear that you've made the wrong decision. But these feelings aren't signs that you should turn back. They're part of the rebuilding process. It's like remodeling a house. First, you have to tear down walls, face the dust and chaos, before you can create a new and beautiful space. Jung would remind us that this chaos isn't something to fear. It's the fertile ground where true transformation can flourish. When you decide to prioritize yourself, something deeper begins to happen. Your dreams, the ones you may have buried, resurface. Maybe you've always wanted to dedicate yourself to something you're passionate about, but the expectations of others led you down a different path. Or perhaps you felt like you weren't good enough to pursue your goals. This is the moment when those limiting beliefs start to crumble, because by letting go of what doesn't belong to you, you're also releasing the fears and doubts that others projected onto you. Something fascinating that Jung taught is that the unconscious doesn't just hold our shadows and fears, it also holds our greatest potential. Within you, there are talents, ideas, and capacities you haven't yet explored. Not because they don't exist, but because you hadn't created the space for them to emerge. When you decide to live from your authenticity, those parts of you begin to manifest in ways you couldn't have imagined. It's as if, by releasing the old, you're turning on a light that illuminates everything that was hidden. This process also teaches you something valuable. You don't have to do it all alone. Jung deeply believed in human connection and how our relationships can be a source of support and growth. But these connections must be genuine, based on mutual respect and acceptance of who you truly are. When you surround yourself with people who celebrate your authenticity instead of trying to change you, you discover the true power of human relationships. It's important to remember that this journey isn't about eliminating everyone from your life. It's about discernment, about consciously choosing who is aligned with you and who isn't. The relationships that are truly worth it are those where you can be yourself, without fear, without pretenses, without feeling like you have to prove your worth. Jung said that authentic relationships not only nourish our soul, but also push us to grow, to expand, and to become the best version of ourselves. As you move forward, you'll realize something powerful. The peace you were searching for outside was always within you. You don't need others to complete you because you're already whole. You don't need external validation because your worth doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion. This is the greatest gift you can give yourself, the freedom to be yourself without asking for permission, without apologies, without fear. Maintaining this authenticity in your daily life can seem like a challenge, especially when the world around you continues to operate under dynamics of superficiality, expectations, and conformity. But here's the key. Living from your authenticity doesn't mean being perfect or having all the answers. It means choosing every day to align with who you are, even in the midst of uncertainty and external pressures. Jung taught us that our greatest enemy isn't others. It's our own shadows, the parts of ourselves we're afraid to face, the parts we've repressed because they don't fit the image we want to project. But here lies the true power. When you begin to integrate those shadows, they no longer control you. Instead of sabotaging you, they become a source of wisdom and strength. A clear example of this is how we react to the judgment of others. When you live from your authenticity, there will inevitably be people who don't understand or who even criticize you. But those criticisms can only affect you if they touch something within you that you haven't accepted. If you've made peace with your shadows, those words lose their power, not because you're insensitive, but because you recognize that what others say about you has more to do with them than with you. The next step on this path is learning to set boundaries. This doesn't mean closing your heart or distancing yourself from everyone. It means being clear about what you allow in your life. Carl Jung said that our relationships are a reflection of our relationship with ourselves. If others treat you with disdain or make you feel less than, it's a sign that there are still parts of you that need love and acceptance. Setting boundaries isn't a selfish act. It's an act of respect toward yourself and others. Imagine your energy as a garden. Every relationship, every interaction is a seed you plant. Some seeds blossom and bring beauty and joy to your life, while others can become weeds, draining your energy and stealing space for growth. Learning to care for your inner garden is essential to maintaining your authenticity. This means surrounding yourself with people who nourish your soul, who celebrate your growth, and who are willing to walk beside you, not behind or in front of you, but at your side. Another crucial aspect is listening to your intuition. In our society, this inner power is often underestimated, but Jung considered it one of the most valuable tools for navigating life. Your intuition is that quiet voice that guides you toward what's true for you. Sometimes it comes as a feeling of peace, Other times as a slight discomfort warning you when something isn't aligned. Listening to it takes practice and trust, but the more you do it, the stronger it becomes. Authenticity also connects you with your purpose. Jung believed that we all have a unique calling, something only we can contribute to the world. But to discover it, you need to free yourself from distractions, from others' expectations, and from the limiting beliefs you've accumulated throughout your life. As you do this, you begin to notice a pattern in the things that ignite your passion, in the moments that make you feel alive, and in the ideas you can't ignore. That's the universe speaking to you, showing you your path. As you move forward on this journey, you'll notice a subtle but profound shift in how you experience life. The little things that once went unnoticed begin to take on greater meaning. A conversation with a friend, a moment of peace in nature, even an unexpected challenge becomes an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to connect with yourself and others. It's as if everything in your life takes on a new purpose. Think about this. How many times have you ignored that inner voice telling you what you truly desire? How many times have you let fear or the opinions of others decide for you? Maybe it's time to listen, to dare to follow that calling, and to discover what lies on the other side of fear. If these words resonated with you, tell me in the comments what living authentically means.